let me first acknowledge in advance that I don't really deserve to be here. There are people here who have been with the company for a period of time, who have set records, who have done remarkable, profound things. I'm brand new here. And so I appreciate the company inviting me here, and I acknowledge the fact that I don't deserve this stage right now. I hope to one day deserve it with this company. Over the last couple of days that I've been here, I've been watching and listening and observing a lot of things. And one of the things I've heard is profound gratitude for the existence of this industry of ours. And multiple times I've heard it described as the profession. People have talked about the profession. This has been a lifeline for me from the very beginning. As it works out, I was raised in a home with an alcoholic father who never got sober. There was absolutely no money. And it was not just there was no money, but what little money there was very poorly allocated. And I remember from the earliest part of my life, it seemed like every single question ended with, how much does it cost? And the answer was always, no, that's too much, Randy, you know we can't afford that. I remember in third grade, I went to school, and I came home from school, and I said to my mom, Mom, I want Converse sneakers. That's what the cool kids wear. What I said was, I want them. What I felt was, I need them, because I needed to fit in because of a poor self-esteem. And she said, Randy, you know we can't afford those. And a few days later, I came home and I said, Mom, I want Levi's jeans. And she said, Randy, you know we can't afford those. And when I said I want them, what I felt was, I need them. But God is kind, because a thought came to mind. And what was the thought? I was a Cub Scout at that point in time, and I read a magazine called Boy's Life. And in the Boy's Life, it said that I could become a dealer for a direct selling company called Watkins. And so I became a network marketing distributor 59 years ago. I am today 68, and I became a network marketing distributor 59 years ago.
Woo! Go Randy!
So, the first time that I had a profound need was when I was in third grade, and I needed to fit in with the other kids. I had that need, and this industry was there for me. I let people take it away from me. By the way, from 3rd through 11th grade, I went around and I knocked on doors and I said, hi, I'm Randy Schroeder. I've got a fine selection of everything. Would you like to buy anything? And enough people bought something. That's the truth. And enough people bought something that I bought Converse sneakers and Levi's jeans. And so that was my solution at that point in time. But when I got to 11th grade, I then allowed as a child people to do to me what so frequently happens today to adults. In 11th grade, the kids that I wanted to be like said, Randy, it's not cool for you to be saying you got a fine selection of everything. And so I let them take it away, and I went and I got a job like everybody else. I earned nothing. And I kind of forgot about it. That was the first time that I needed this industry, and it was there. The second time that I needed it was in 1989. I referenced that my dad was an alcoholic, and there is a genetic component to that. By the time 1989 came, I was a senior vice president at a very well-known brokerage firm called Merrill Lynch. And while at Merrill Lynch, though I didn't know it yet, my alcoholism and drug addiction was spinning out of control. A lot more bad things had to happen. But while there, I was found abusing client accounts, taking unauthorized discretion while under the influence of alcohol and cocaine. And I got a lifetime suspension from the New York Stock Exchange. It wasn't just that I got fired from Merrill Lynch. I could never again be employed by any brokerage firm. And the day that happened, it was in the newspapers, in the Wall Street Journal and Barron's, actually. And the day that happened, not only was I not welcome in the brokerage industry, no one was interested in being in business with me. That was the second time that I needed network marketing. And I called my attorney. He said, Randy, there's one solution for you. He said, the solution is network marketing, because that is a door that is open. And so the first thing that I would say to all of you is that the biggest reason we should all love and embrace and be so grateful for this is because we can if we choose to. Because there's not a filter, there's not a screen. It doesn't matter where we came from. It doesn't matter what our past successes were, what our past failures and mistakes might have been. And he told me, his name was Razor. He said, Randy, find a direct selling company. But what he really told me to do was to find a leader who was accomplishing what I wanted to accomplish and then be willing to follow. And I found that person. Rest in peace, Nathan Ricks. Nathan taught me over the course of the next period of time how to not waste time, effort, energy, and money, how to become profitable and efficient in the network marketing industry. And that set in motion a cascade of events that has benefited my life like most people can hardly even imagine. And then, the next time that I needed it, remember I said that there's a genetic component to alcoholism, and I had that first profound disaster. The first bit of consequences came in 1989. Well, in 2006, I was arrested 3 times for cocaine possession. I was convicted of felonies. I spent time in jail, and I spent time in prison. And when I came out of that prison, do you suppose for a moment that I thought my greatest success is going to be in front of me? No, I thought it's been ruined today. It's over. But there was one door that was still open. There were no other doors. There was one door that was still open. And that door was the direct selling industry. And I embraced it. I embraced it completely and fully. And from that point forward, thank God, I've been alcohol and drug free for a long time. The felonies have been expired. God has been very kind to me. And in fact, that winds up being foundational to my success and to who I am. Today, I don't wish those things had not occurred. I'm incredibly grateful that they have. It does, however, require things like this. When I arrived here, I saw Tony and I saw Sarah, and they ran to me and gave me a hug. And the God's honest truth is, last time you saw me, I was so buried in drugs and alcohol. And so I probably owe you an apology, and I apologize. And there may well be people here who had some interaction with me over the course of those years to whom I owe an apology. And if so, I offer it to you now. And I can assure you that I don't behave those ways anymore. And it was this business. It was the leadership made available to me in this business which affected that change. And so now for me, and it's a striking thing, it's absolutely crazy, folks, my enrollment trees, not the companies I've been involved with, my enrollment trees have done $5 billion in sales. Can you imagine that? People in my groups have been paid over $2.5 billion in commissions in the last 35 years. Whenever someone says to me that there's something about the network marketing industry that's right, I say, that's not right. I say, no, you don't understand it. You just don't understand it. Because if you did, you would embrace it as I have. And then, the next time that I needed network marketing, it was about 3 months ago, excuse me, when I called Brian McMullen. Because the fact is that the rules of the game have changed. When I first got involved in the direct selling industry, people didn't pay much attention to the price of the products because it was about recruiting a member who would recruit a member who would recruit a member. And for so many years, people in the company I was involved with, I drove them nuts because they said, Randy, how do you use the product? Well, I take a pinch of it and throw it over my shoulder for luck. That's what I said, because it was about recruiting a member who would recruit a member. And it was about products that were priced to meet the needs of compensation plans, not products that were priced to meet the needs of consumers. And that doesn't work anymore. And so now for the last 3 years, that's God's honest truth, and so now for the last 3 years, I've been trying to successfully pivot as one of the most successful careers in the history of this industry, trying to successfully pivot towards a digital model, and it's been an absolute disaster. And so I called Brian, and I said, Brian, I understand and I hear that you guys are doing something different. Help me understand it. And folks, I'm not sure that all of you, I don't know how clearly you understand the advantage that is here. I was first taught how to build a business, and I was taught how to build a business that would require that each leader do several $1,000s in volume. When I was at New Skin, I had to do 3,000 volume points a month, or I wouldn't be an executive. When I was at Rexall Showcase, I had to do 4,000 volume points a month. And then came Nueva, and all of a sudden, people are only doing 110. That sounded exciting, but it holds no volume and payout. There's no money there. I don't know if you folks understand how cool this is. I've never had, to the best of my knowledge, I've never had a single unique idea. I'm not good at having ideas. I'm good at helping other people monetize the great ideas they have. And what was the great idea of this company? The great idea of this company was to bring the direct selling industry to where it always belongs. Pricing products that are designed for consumers and not recruiting a person who will recruit a person, but recruiting a person who will build a customer base. And then having shown that person how to build a customer base, now we can go to any entrepreneur and say, let us build a block of volume that is based upon widespread product consumption, where only 10% or 20% are focused on recruiting, but 90% are focused on the delivery of a product. Now you have a business model that is actually sustainable over a long period of time. And I cannot tell you how grateful I am. Literally, I lie in bed at night and I say, thank God that you folks had that idea, that you learned how to make that idea work, and thank God that along the way I met Brian McMullen and that he shared with me the truth about what is here. My time is completely spent. We could spend hours together here, but of course you don't want to do that. But I do want to just reflect upon this simple thought. I consider this to be a gift for me, for my family, for us. It's a gift. I think it's a gift for all of us. But you know, I reflect a little bit, and Samantha came backstage a minute ago, and she reminded me of one little message that I frankly only delivered once in my life, and I think Sarah was probably in the audience that day. It was an Eric Worre event many, many years ago. And I reflected on the fact that my favorite scripture of all happens to be Hebrews, the 13th chapter, the first few verses. It talks about the great hall of faith. And it talks about Noah and Moses and Abraham and Rahab and all the things that they did. They couldn't see the future, but they acted as though they could. And by the way, folks, it took me a long time to figure this out. We can't get the right outcome by doing the wrong thing. It took me so long to figure out what's obvious to most other people. We can only get the right outcome by doing the right thing. But all these great hall of faith, these wonderful Old Testament prophets, they did so many incredible things. They couldn't see the future, but they acted as though they could. And I remember towards the end of it, it says, it talks about the hall of faith, and it says, therefore, my friends, being surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us then run with endurance the race that is set before us, keeping our eyes fixed upon God, however you see God. Well, I would shift that thought just a little bit here today. How many of you in this room have had a positive product experience in this or any other network marketing company? Stand up if you have. If you had a positive product experience, stand up. And how many of you in this room have made any money in the direct selling industry? If you have, please stay standing. How many of you have developed friends and relationships that are different, more profound, more rewarding than you'd had before? Is that true of any of you? How many of you can honestly say that you're a better husband or father or wife or mother because of this industry? I can say all of those things. And so to any of you who are wondering how deeply can you be committed to what? Committed to yourself. How deeply can you be committed? And how surely can you grasp this as the mechanism to take you home? Well, folks, this is your cloud of witnesses. Therefore, my friends, being surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us then run with endurance the race that is set before us, keeping our eyes fixed upon God, however you see God, whatever your perception is. Keeping our eyes fixed upon God, however you see God, replacing fear with faith, eliminating despair with confidence and hope, and recognizing that that which God ordains cannot be stopped. And it's my deepest belief that each of you, that each of us were put on this earth to do something great. Yes. And we have an opportunity to benefit other people's lives. I'm so grateful to be here. God bless you all. Thank you.